Welcome, everyone, to the Everyday Living Podcast. I'm Jason, and here's my lovely wife, Holly.
Hello. It's great to be here with you tonight.
So, hey, most of you know we live in Isla Vista, California, and we're actually in our kitchen tonight. Kids are asleep, dogs are sleeping, but background noise is quite common in our house, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the topic tonight, sweetie?
I don't know. What is it, honey?
Well, here's the thing is over the last 2 years or so, we started a family channel. Well, it started with our little daughter. She had some viral videos on YouTube, and then we converted it recently into a family channel. And over the last few years, there's videos up of us around the table, kids eating snacks, and we get a lot of questions. But a very common question always if there's food is, what the heck are your kids eating? Or how do you get them to eat that stuff? So my wife is an incredible blessing to our family on so many levels, but one of them is she feeds us really healthy. And the kids rarely get sick, and they love to eat. Well, I shouldn't say. Do they love to eat healthy?
Yeah. They've bought in pretty well.
They bought in. That took time. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about. A little about that journey today. And so I'm just going to start us off. You ready, wife?
Why didn't you tell them what I am?
Oh, wow. That is so true. Credibility. My wife is a certified nutritional health coach. Clearly, I need help. All right. So question one here is, tell us about how you became so passionate about health and nutrition. How did that journey begin for you?
Okay. Well, it is something I'm very passionate about. And I was raised in a way that there was a value for health and eating well, eating healthy, but not really a whole lot of knowledge about that. It was like, okay, you can't have sugar cereal that has more than, so many grams of sugar or something. But I think it still instilled a value in a young age for me about health. But it wasn't probably really until I had my own children when we first had Samuel. I remember thinking here, and I'd had a lot of digestive issues my whole life, really, and since I can remember at least. And so that had been really challenging to deal with. And then when we had our first baby, I just looked at him and thought, how do I take this little baby that now, of course, knowing what I know now, he wasn't born with the perfect digestive system, which is a whole nother story about how even babies can be born with a compromised digestive system that they kind of inherit from us. But at the time, I thought, okay, he's born with this perfect digestive system, eating the perfect food for him of breast milk. And how am I going to take him from that to eating pizza and, candy bars and everything that all of us eat all the time and compromise that system? And it really stirred up in me such a passion for wanting to feed him well and only put things in his body that were beneficial to him. And God kindly provided at that same time a dear friend who had grown up knowing a lot about health and nutrition and was super passionate about all that. She was actually in the process of starting her own business as a personal chef with a bent towards, cooking healthy can still taste great. And so she started teaching me tons and tons of stuff. And that kind of really started my journey to a whole nother level. And then I just became more and more passionate about it, but still didn't have a lot of real knowledge about it. But I started trying to learn more, and eventually read a book that you gave me that kicked it to a whole nother level. And
which book was that? What did I do?
It's not even really a book I would recommend, but It was called When Christians Get Sick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I can't believe I gave you that.
Yeah.
That was a lot. I've had my own journey. We won't get into that today, of Holly moving me way faster than I wanted to move. But.
Yeah. I'm a bit of an extremist, so when I got more information, I really kicked it up about, 20 notches. But that really was even though it was hard in some ways, hard for you, probably the most. And our children were thankfully young enough that it was hard at first, but it only took them a week or two to just sort of forget the way we had been eating before.
There was some revolting. I have a flashback of like the time you brought soup out and we're like, no, what is this?
Yeah, there was some...
What is this bone broth?
Well, soup. I mean, lots of people eat soup. It was probably a very unusual soup. I kind of kicked me into a passion of eating highly raw vegan, which I'm not a huge proponent of, certainly not all the time. But, so yeah, it was a challenge to be sure. But anyway,
let me ask you something, unless you want to.
Well, I just want to finish kind of a little bit about how I got started. That really kicked off a season of wanting to really learn a lot more and make a lot of bigger changes. And that just continued to grow as a passion for seeing the radical difference that eating healthy can make, because I felt better than I had in my whole life, and I saw sickness go away from our children and to almost never return. And, lots of really good fruit that began to come from that, but also seeing how much more I needed to learn and figure out how to apply. And
like a lot of fruit, though.
Yeah, a lot of fruit.
In the natural.
Oh, yeah. Lots of fruit. But that was about 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
That really...
And, I'll say this. I am so thankful that we went on this journey. It was definitely challenging for me, especially. But to this day, like, it's hard to go back eating unhealthy. If I know you don't ever do it, but I'll do it once in a while if I'll go out with people, and my body can just feel it. It's just off. So it's crazy, right? How your body will start craving the right things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a huge, huge thing to know that we definitely experience, is how your taste buds will actually change. And, what might be torturous at the beginning doesn't take all that long to actually become something enjoyable. And, we are meant to enjoy food. I think that it needs to be very strongly coupled with the purpose of it nourishing and bringing life and nourishment to our bodies, but it is certainly meant to be enjoyed still. And I don't actually know many people who enjoy food as much as our kids enjoy it. And that's with eating
some of you who know
very
us are
healthy
saying,
food.
Amen. Those Lomolino kids can eat. So let me get into this. I have another question. What are some key components you discovered along the way for eating healthy?
That is a great question. Well, I think one thing that in my journey, really, if I, had time to get into the whole journey and story, which we won't bore everyone with all the details tonight of that, but my journey certainly testifies to the reality of what I call, and what my school I went to calls, bioindividuality, and really the truth that one person's food that nourishes is one person's medicine, in a sense, is another person's poison. That's not true about everything. I think there's certain things that we need to be wary of at all times, which is processed foods, sugar, especially refined sugars, refined white flours. Those are typically, or hydrogenated oils, just some of those big culprits that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard about. Those are things to be wary of at all times. Those are typically always going to be poisons for all of us. But when it comes to the nitty gritty, like, okay, I'm trying to eat healthy, I'm trying to eat real food, that's like a key component, right? Like, eat real food where you actually can tell, like, this is what this is. This came from this animal, or this came from this plant. And it's not like full of a bunch of weird fillers or chemicals, or like, was this grown from the ground or come from an animal, or did this come out of a, laboratory or some sort of chemical plant? Okay. So that's kind of an obvious one. Just eat as close to the real unadulterated food as possible. But when it comes to the specifics of, should I be a vegetarian? Should I eat paleo? Should I be a vegan? Should I do Whole30? Should I do keto diet? All these different things. You have to really understand that what you need is going to be different from what your, spouse needs, or what even your children need, or your best friends need. What's working for one person is not necessarily going to be what's working for you. And, that's kind of the challenge of healthy eating for a lot of people, is like, there's so many different, even opposing, like totally opposing opposite viewpoints on what's healthy. And I think it's so easy to get lost in the shuffle of that. Well, what am I supposed to eat? How do I eat healthy? And I've, gone through that struggle many, many times. Finally just learned that there's so many variables. Even what I need today is not what I need tomorrow. And for me, a really clear truth of that is I typically don't need a lot of animal products and meat, but when I'm pregnant, I will eat like a whole steak or a pound of ground beef a day, like every day for those,
or
that
liver,
first, I'll nasty. Eat like big old pieces of liver for like the whole first trimester. And that's just what my body needs. It's one of the few things that helps me not feel so sick.
It's part of birthing a Lomolino kid.
Yeah.
Right from the womb, they're already said, just feed me.
Yeah. So, different blood types need different types of food, different men versus women, that can really make a change.
So without this becoming too complicated, you would probably just say start experimenting almost with your body, what it likes, what it doesn't like. How do you go about that?
I think that, learning how to pay attention to what is your body telling you. And, and now you have to differentiate, right? Because your cravings,
I was going to say, my body's telling me coffee.
Yeah, your unhealthy cravings may be calling out for sweets and sugar and stuff like that. Although even that is an indicator of things that your body's needing. It's not saying it's needing sugar. You also have, obviously, like if you have candida or unhealthy bacteria in your body, which a lot of people do, that is also calling out for those things. So you, like I said, you have to really learn to differentiate. But your body will tell you, like, if you're needing more meat or if you're needing, trying, I guess experimenting. Like if you cut, and that's a big thing I'm a fan of, is, cut out sugar, cut out some of those.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a good starting? Like if someone's like saying, I can tell my body, we need to change something here. I'm off. It's speaking to me. It's talking. Would you say maybe start with sugar?
Yeah, I think sugar is a huge one to start with. Sugar and just processed foods in general. Like, the more processed, the harder it is for your body. And I think, some signs, because I know this can be confusing, especially if you're at the beginning of the journey, is, are you tired all the time? Are you, are your joints hurting? Are you struggling with inflammation type, like back pain, stuff like that? Those are all indicators that you're not nourishing your body, and instead what you're feeding it is actually taxing your body. Mm-hmm. So, we should be able to feel like, if we get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, we should be able to wake up and feel pretty rested and make it throughout the day without binging or living off of coffee all the time. Those are all signs that your body's calling out. So yes, cut out sugar. I'm also a big fan of at least trying to do a 1 to 2 month, like kind of fast type thing with gluten and dairy, because so many people have issues with those things and don't realize it. And even if you don't actually have a problem with gluten, it's not a super nourishing food. So just to even recognize how much you eat it, because the standard American diet for many people consists of, 50 to 80% gluten. It's like you have your bagel, even if you think you're trying to eat healthy, right? Like you have your bagel for breakfast, you have pasta for lunch.
Don't do it, people.
I guess pasta is probably not super common for lunch, but you have your bagel for breakfast, like or cereal for breakfast, then you have a sandwich for lunch, and then you have pizza or spaghetti for dinner. That's like all just gluten. Yeah. 3 times a day, every day. I'll
say this real quick just to add. We didn't really address this, but for me, you're getting to the why of why eating healthy. And at least for me, it really just boils down to, I feel more alive. I feel more present. I feel like I need less sleep. The things that matter, I can give myself to them with clarity, with greater energy. And, raising 6 kids is not easy. Raising 1 kid is not easy. And so for us to be on max, not capacity, but what, max? We're maxing out, people. Just know that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm sluggish. I for season, maybe before we even started eating healthy, the 2 to 4 hour I just dread because I knew tiredness was going to hit me after my carb lunch. And now I rarely feel that, and I really do attribute it to you helping our family and me on this journey. And just for time's sake, let me just drop into kind of our last question, because this is the one where I know a lot of you YouTube subscribers have really tried to get me to do a video on this, ask Holly about this, but our life's full. We don't create, for those of us that follow us on social media, we don't create anything really. We just document. We just document what's going on in our life, what's going on in our family. And so the question that those at home or watching from home been wanting me to ask is how to word this. Maybe if you could just give us a few practical tips on how to feed your kids healthy food, and not just feed them healthy, but actually how do you get them to put it in their mouth, chew it, and then swallow it?
Well, so our number 5 kid right now, he's been one of our pickier kids, and it's been, a good experience for me to see, okay, you can offer great food, but you can never force a kid to fully eat it, right? And so I understand probably many moms out there are having that challenge where maybe you're doing a great job with what you're making available, but you can't get them to eat it. And so I feel for you, and I know that's hard. But I know from my experience and what I see with many moms is that it really starts in the grocery store. It starts with what's available, what is, and the culture. Every home has a culture that they've created with food. Even if that culture is we go out to eat every night, that's still a culture that's been created, right? So you want to try to create a culture of valuing health and providing healthy options. And, the more healthy options you have, the more that's going to be what they're exposed to, what they're actually going to be used to, what they're going to know in that culture of food. If it's Happy Meals every night and then you try to all of a sudden get them to eat their vegetables, that is so foreign to them. Their taste buds will not be accustomed to that at all. It's a losing battle. But if you will try to buy in the store foods that are nutritious and healthy and not just always convenient or cheap, then you've already made huge headway. And, kids are super adaptable and they do watch us. So a lot of it starts with us, right? If mom and dad are eating, junk food and trying to feed their kids healthy food, good luck. Like you've already lost that battle. But if they see us eating healthy food, kids naturally are like, what are you eating? I want that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a life lesson. A lot of things you do teach in family, but more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
At least we found that to be true.
Yeah, definitely. What are you modeling? So, in so many ways it starts with us, but then like I said, just, what's available and believing that your kids, that they can change, that they can adapt. And then I think too, like we don't force our kids to eat anything, but always having nutritious options on the plate and pretty much only nutritious options. And, then they can pick what they like or don't like with that. But every time offering and making available those healthy choices. And, I think for the most part, you'll be amazed at what you'll actually see and discover. I mean, there's been some foods that like I'm so shocked that our kids love and they'll
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
I will say this too. I don't think I can remember a meal that you made something separate for one of the kids. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for really parents to hear is you're not going to yield to what your kids want. You have to kind of hold the line, right?
Right. Yeah. You can't, when you cater to them, it's a really slippery slope of just them, all I want is chicken nuggets. That's all I'll eat, chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. And okay, I made this really healthy dinner, but you're not eating any of it. But you know that I'll get up and make you mac and cheese or chicken nuggets after. So of course, why would they eat something that, their taste buds are not adapted to when they only want this brown, bland food that you've catered to with them? So yeah, it's really hard, but you have to, knowing that that's what's best for them, you have to kind of make that stand. And, eventually, most of the time they come around.
Well, that's really good. Well, Holly, I just want to honor you and just say that you are an incredible mom on so many levels, and your passion for wholeness in general is second to none. I don't know how else to say it except that you have such a passion for wholeness, and it comes out in a variety of ways, and I'm thankful that it's come out with food. Mostly, this may sound selfish, but I know parents at home are like, that is not selfish. It's just a bummer when your kids are sick, like straight up. Mm-hmm. It is such a bummer. And to have healthy kids, vibrant kids is such a gift. Is there anything else though you want to say before we close it out, baby?
Yeah, I think in closing, just kind of with the big picture, I've realized in my journey that this path of health is really about a journey and not just a destination. And, being okay with process, but also wanting to engage on the journey. Because what I see happen a lot of times is it's like, it feels maybe so daunting, or, I just don't have time for it or whatever, that people don't even get out on that road and start walking. Right. And, or they just feel like, I don't know what the destination is, so I can't get there. But I've realized you just have to get on that path and start walking it out. And if there's days or weeks or months, even years sometimes, that you don't have much to give or you can't make much transition, but at least you stay on that path. And then where there's times that you can learn more and you can apply more and you can do some adaptations and transformation, then you do that. And sometimes you might be running on the path and get a long way on it. And other times you might be just holding your place or just taking little tiny baby steps. And also knowing your personality, how do you work best? Are you somebody that needs to go extreme with it like me? Then do it, give yourself a 2-month cleanse type thing and radically change the way you eat. If that's not who you are and not going to work for you, then, pick one thing to change each week or something like that. But just make sure you are at least journeying on the path and not just avoiding the path altogether because you don't want to make that change, because eventually it does catch up with each of us, I think.
Well, thank you everyone for listening today. And eventually Holly will have a website concerning her health consulting business. She's already doing a little on the side. If you want to get more information though, or get connected to Holly, you can go to jasonlomolino.com and find Holly that way. All right, everyone, take care. Have a great day.